In theory, it's my Saturday stream. Not quite sure if we're streaming it. Let's take a look at Twitter and check. There's Twitter. Except for it's not Twitter that I'm talking about. It's Twitch. I'm not really awake. Alright, I'm streaming. Hurrah! We'll go ahead and post this to Twitter that I am streaming on Twitch. Streaming game dev. Probably gonna work on integrating crew. Paste. How exciting. Erdoy and Evil Luigi are both here. Hello. I am going to try to continue where we left off last time. There are a couple of details here that are not working properly. And one of those details is the way... Oop, that's not going to help. Is the way in which ships were getting spawned in. We were getting ships that didn't have the crew correctly spawning into the rooms. Now, that said, there are a couple of details that make this a little bit difficult. So, probably the key problem to this is that these rooms are currently just the defaults, and they don't properly save when we tell them to save. I haven't gone into the save system in a while. It may be better for me to work on the UI problems first, because there are a lot of them. In addition, there are a couple of other details that we need to work out, like the ability to show or hide the internal visuals. So, for example, if we switch this over to a bunk, we get these people, but you can see that they are down here, and they're clearly in the way, and I want to be able to shrink this and grow this. That's a fairly straightforward thing to be able to do, so I guess that's what I'll do first. We're also going to need to optimize this a little bit so that it doesn't take so long to render these characters. And right now it's okay. When we switch back to the exterior view, the rendering freezes. But when we're on the interior view, we get a real slowdown due to the way where we keep switching textures. So we can do a couple of things about that. And one of the things we can do is we can only render one texture per frame. Well, let's start by working on the portrait system here. Now, the portrait system is basically invisible at the moment because we don't have any sort of visuals attached to it. Visuals only get attached when you actually start to put things inside of it. So just so we can see what's going on, let's go ahead and drop in an element here. Oh, that's not it. This element. Just so that we can see how it will look when we actually get going. Now, what we're going to want to do is create an option or a button of some sort to shrink and grow this. And that's not too hard, except for the fact that we are working within a screen-wide system. And therefore we can't specify a width. So to show you what I mean, the portrait mask is 5 from the left and 5 from the right. Shrinking that is not so easy. But what we can do is we can change the X scale like this, see? And of course, once the X scale hits 0, it becomes just a vertical line. So it's possible for us to use that as our animation. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to create an animation based on shrinking the portrait mask. In order to do that, though, we're going to need to add a couple more details. First off, I guess it's fine like that. First off, we're going to need a button. So let's create a button. And this button is going to be on the far left, and it's going to be a vertical button. So we'll just anchor it here, and we'll call it 5, 5, and 20 and 50 like this. Maybe even more than that. Let's say 80. And if we anchor it to the bottom, we should be able to pull it up above the bottom of the screen like this. And we probably should make this button the same height as the actual indicators. So 178, 180, I suppose, 175, 178. That's fine. Whatever it happens to be. Actually bringing it in line here is probably fine. And we're going to replace the text so that it's just got an overlaid element here. Boom. And we're going to want to use an arrow as the element if we have one. Otherwise, we might have to use just temporarily like a left button. Like a left, text icon. Look at all these icons. I don't think we have a left arrow as an icon right now. We have a drop-down arrow. We can use that and then rotate it 90 degrees. Nope, wrong way. And if we're going to do that, we might as well anchor it to the center and tell it that it is 20 by 20. That way we'll be able to actually see it properly. Like so. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have some animations attached to our friend, the portrait HUD. But we're also going to have to move this mask so that it's not butted up against the button, like so. Great. So let's go ahead and add in an animator and an animation. So I want to actually do this manually rather than relying on the automatic part, because the automatic part will misname stuff. So create animator controller, and this will be the min-maxer. And we will just drop the min-maxer onto our object here. And in the min-maxer, we'll create a new animation, which we will call the shrink animation, min-maxer shrink animation. I think that popped up on the wrong screen, so you can't see it, but that's okay. So this is going to be a fairly straightforward sort of object. We're going to make it so that when we shrink it, it just lowers the scale on the x-axis to 0, like this. Boom. So if we want to look at how that looks, it looks like this. The problem is, I think that's actually pretty ugly. I don't like how that looks. So we're also going to shrink it on the y-axis, like this. So, but I don't want it to shrink like that throughout, so we're going to change it to this. So then what will happen is it'll start to shrink and then it'll go away. That's not really an ideal look. What we can do in the long run is use some phase effects similar to what I've got for these guys. In fact, so similar that maybe I should be copying that technique. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that technique is. I believe that the basic idea is that the mask image is going to be the hologram image. Boom, 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 boom. UI mask. Here it is. No, that's not it. Okay, so what is the image in use by these guys? Holo panel uses the... It's got a mask in front of it. There it is, the mask. Uses GUI icons 5. What a wonderful name for it. So we're going to go ahead and make our portrait mask GUI icons 5. Like so. The problem is that that actually goes the wrong direction because it was built for those guys. So what we're going to have to do is flip the mask around and then flip it back. So that's kind of obnoxious. It might be easier to actually create a version of that that doesn't have a... goes the other direction. Yeah, show it to me down in the project window. You're annoying. There we are. So here it is in our system. And what we're going to do is we're just going to copy it and flip it. That way we won't have to worry about what happens when we duplicate and flip so many things. So just copy, paste, and then flip. And drag it over here. And let's go ahead and move it to a new layer. Did that work? Yeah, good. Because I want to delete the boundary, of course. This black boundary is no longer of any use to us. It's just gonna muddy up. Ooh, just gonna muddy things up if we leave it. So there we go. Go ahead and save that. And we should now have a GUI icons 6, except for it's not the right one, is it? So we're going to have to go into GUI icons and reslice it. Here we go. So you see how this wasn't an option. We're going to go ahead and just drag this. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and reslice it just from the start here. Type grid by cell size. And what is it? 128 by 128, something like that. Slice. There we are. And that will be good enough to use GUI icon 6. Now this does mean that whatever was GUI icon 6 is now GUI icon 8, but that's okay because we weren't using those. They were just extra pieces that aren't in play. They're just empty cells. But it's something to keep in mind. If you slice things, you can easily slice them wrong. Still, I think that would be good to name these things a little bit better. I guess we have to name them inside of the slice. I can't name them out here. That's kind of stupid. Well, let's go ahead and name them. We'll name this guy hologram mask left. And this one will be hologram mask right. And down here, we're going to go ahead and use the proper hologram mask to do our masking. So instead of hologram mask left, we'll do hologram mask right. Now, hologram mask right doesn't extend as far as you might think. So when we add more portraits, you're going to see that it begins to chop up our buddies pretty quick. But we can fix that by simply sliding the mask further along. The problem is that this mask is also our scroll rect. So if we widen it, it's going to end up including parts of the system that aren't actually on screen. So we need to split our mask and our scroll rect into two distinct groups, which isn't hard. We'll just create another empty object here. And maybe not an empty object. Maybe a panel would be better. Panel. And we'll drop that in underneath the mask, like so. And then we'll drop the portrait group into the panel. There we go. And then this will be our scroll rect. So with our scroll rect, we're not going to do any vertical. It's all going to be horizontal. And the viewport is going to be the panel. And the content is going to be the portrait group. And we're going to change this name to a scroll rect so that our mask is just our mask. Boom. So what we've got now is we've got a mask that is a specific height and is a number of wide. The width here is relative to the width of the screen, which means that we can go off the side. That's not what I wanted to change. We can go off the side, something like, not 3,000, how about 500? That might not even be enough. Let's go to 750. Well, the problem is that people might have very wide screens, and I don't want to accidentally cut anything off. So we'll go ahead and -2500. That should be easy enough, right? And that means that our scroll rect has to be set to be 2500 to the other direction, like this. Now, the scroll rect doesn't have a source image that we want to show, so we'll go ahead and hide that. But that should give us bounds that make sense. Wonker says, sick stuff. I hope that's good and not bad. It's been forever since I actually knew which direction that was. Okay, so we're going to have to go ahead and remake this animation that we've created so that it works. And that means that we're going to have an animation which doesn't modify the scale of anything except for the portrait mask. Oh, wait, hold on. The portrait mask is going to adjust the... that's fine. That's fine. What we'll do is we will slide the portrait mask left, and we'll slide the scroll rect right. That'll work fine. So over here at the 1 second mark, let's go ahead and slide it to the left. So this will be negative 2500. And the right will be 0 or 2500. And you can see that that slid it way over there, and that's fine. What we want to do is then slide the scroll rect in the opposite direction, so that it would be 2500, 0, right? Something like that. It has to be even further, doesn't it? Like this. So when that happens, what we'll see is that, well, that definitely didn't work right. Okay, so this portrait group is, scroll rect is not offset correctly. Let's see here. If we, oh wait, I just screwed that up, didn't I? Because I made it so that it was, that's not at the animated endpoint, is it? So this needs to be 2500, and I think it just needs to flat out be 2500. Let's try it. See? It's off by 25 pixels, so we'll make this 25, 25. No, that's not 25, that's 52. And just by sliding it like this. Alright, so it looks like our right offset is a little bit off. Oh, I just changed it in the wrong place again, didn't I? So if we do this, that's more or less right. I think that's close enough that nobody will complain. Yeah. So it'll just go and hide it. And that's exactly what we want. So that should work. What we're going to do is we're also going to make it blue. Now, the scroll rect doesn't have any visuals, and the portrait mask, we don't actually show the mask graphic. So turning it blue is quite a challenge. In fact, I think it might be impossible. So we're not going to. Hooray! But what we are going to do is make the actual animator do those things properly. So, we've got the wrong thing selected. Stop. I am not actually awake yet, if you might be able to tell. That's the asset store. Don't need you. There we are. This is what I wanted to do. So this is the min-maxer shrink. We're going to need to make some duplicates here. We're going to need to have a min-maxer grow. And we're going to need to have a min-maxer snap open, which has like a negative 1000. And that way, this one will be what we make as the default state. We will start snapped open. Erdroy says, for additional optimization, you can make the UI panel game object disabled at the end of the animations. And when you want to show it again, enable the UI and run the animation. That's not a bad idea at all. In this case, the optimization there would probably be relatively small, but it's worth doing. And so I'll do that in a moment. The animations we've got here are just min-max or shrink. We're going to unloop it because it's not looped. And we are going to need some bools. Or, if we prefer, we can use triggers. Now, why would you want to use one or the other? When you are going to make a button do something, it's very hard to pass it 2 arguments. So instead what we're going to want to do is only pass it 1, and that's going to be the name of the trigger. Rather than having a toggle trigger, well, we can use a toggle trigger, but there's some question as to whether or not that's a good idea. For now, we're going to go ahead and use a toggle trigger. We can always change it later. So when we want to toggle, we're going to switch over to the shrink. And then when we toggle, we're going to switch over to the grow and toggle back. And each of these is only based on when it receives the command to toggle. In this way, when we hit the button, we can tell the button to toggle that. So here, on click, drop in the portrait HUD, and tell it to toggle a trigger. Set trigger, toggle. Perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and put in that last little animation element that would make it a little cheaper by simply turning everything off at the last element here. Not everything, just the portrait mask and children. Boom. So here is the idea. It'll stop rendering. Boom. No problem. Now the only problem I've got, I guess it doesn't matter, yeah, because the mask is going to disable all of its children too. That's fine, that's good, it should work. Let's go ahead and check it out. We're going to hit play. Wonker says, do you make animators for each panel, or do you reuse some animations? That's a complicated question, and the answer is both. I reuse animations when I can, but there is this real risk of getting obsessed with reusing animations. Animations are really cheap in terms of the amount of data they take up, so reusing them is only useful when it's really easy. If you have to make a new animation, don't sweat over it. This sort of thing is not as complicated as, a walk cycle. So if you're doing UI animations, you can just go ahead and make a new one whenever you need. They're super easy. Now the other thing we need to do is flip the that little arrow over whenever we do this. So for that, we're actually going to make this take longer. How do I go there? We're going to put in a little pause. That wasn't what I wanted to do. A little pause over here. I guess we can just grab it and say, yeah, 0, please. I want to add in a, can I? 0.1. 0. Why is it not taking? Oh, because I don't have it programmed here. So, boom. And we'll just go ahead and set that to 0 again, because we don't actually want it to be any different. We just want to set a little key there. And then we're going to set this to 90. Boom. So what that means is that it'll go whoop, 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 but it'll do it right at the end. Now going in the other direction, it'll flip first, and then it will display, which isn't really great. And it may be that I want to actually do it inside of the animation, because otherwise it'll delay the animation. There we are. That'll do. So let's see how this looks. Wonker says, I find animations only work with global space and not local. You have to use local elements. You notice that I did not move the portrait HUD at all. I only moved the things that are inside the portrait HUD. So the portrait HUD has the animator attached to it, and the animator has all the animations, but I'm only moving children around. If you move around the object itself, it's going to be in world coordinates, and that's going to screw you up. Well, technically it's not in world coordinates, it's in whatever coordinates it happens to be in, which is why modifying the children works fine. But if you modify the object that has the animator itself, it's going to be kind of arbitrary. You can't do deltas in that sort of way. Okay, I think that'll work okay. I'm not too concerned with making that any better. So we'll go ahead and delete these UI elements, and then we will just go ahead and create a ship that has some folks in it. There we are. Let's pop into the middle here and create ourselves a crew like this. There we've got our crew, and boop, 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 boop. I think that works. Later on, I'll definitely be polishing this. There are a lot of things that I would like to do to make it feel better. For example, I would like this button to be more obviously the portraits, and I'll have it switch out for a different button when you click it, so that it's like when it's closed you can tell that it's the portraits, and when it's open it just is a left arrow. But for now I think this will work. It's the great thing about having UI like this. You can always re-rig it later. This sort of thing really doesn't take long, even if you're having a brain dead Saturday. I mean, it's only been 20 minutes since I started and I've already got it working fine. Let's go ahead and create more. Boom. Look at all these people living in harmony. That could definitely stand to have a much more high-grain hologram cutting across it, but that'll work for now. There's not a real concern there. Go away, faces. You are in Zue. Now, there's a lot of problems with using toggles. As you can see up here, I'm using a toggle, but at some point I ended up accidentally mousing off in a way which didn't trigger the toggle. And because of that, the toggle is now inverted, and I can't get it to go away. This is the problem with using toggles instead of using absolute triggers, you know, hide versus show. It's not really too hard to have two separate triggers. It's just that I didn't do it. So it might be worth actually doing it. Let's go ahead and take a look. Wonker says, did you get serialization done? No, I didn't have any time. So you still can't save the characters. Moreover, even the rooms aren't getting properly saved. I've got to do all that shit, and doing it on camera seems like a terrible idea. Anyway, if we take a look at these buttons, this is the exterior view button, and it has an animator. And if we look at the animator, it's just got this pop-up trigger, and it's the exact same thing we just had. See that? So what you do instead is you create new triggers. This one's going to be show, and this one's going to be hide. And we don't even have to clear away the pop-up if we don't want to. We can leave that as a valid trigger and then just use show and hide on top of it. So this, for example, is a new trigger, which is the show, or the hide, right? No, it's the show, because it starts unpopped in this case. And then the holo pop, you go down here and it turns into the hide trigger. Yeah, that's fine. And then here, this is the show trigger. Now the problem with this is that if a trigger doesn't get triggered, it kind of just waits and then ambushes you. So if we tell it to hide and it's already hidden, then that hide command will just sit there and wait. And then if we say show, it'll say, okay, I'll show. And then the instant it shows, it'll say, oh, wait, I have a hide command waiting, and it'll hide again. So as far as I know, there's no way to actually tell it to just ignore triggers that don't fire after, you know, half a second or whatever. So the only safe thing to do is to create a transition to yourself that just eats the command that you don't want to have trigger. I wish there was a better way. I'm not aware of one. So that will just eat those. Now the other problem is that it won't eat them silently. It will actually run the animation again, which is why I don't like this method. But should be good enough for our purposes. So now what we're going to do is here, when we do this, instead of saying pop-up, we're going to say show and hide. And that's only for the exterior button at the moment. So if we go over here, there it is. And if we accidentally trigger it, Oh, see how this got triggered? It's stuck in the toggled mode, but we can't have that happen with our exterior view anymore. It just doesn't understand how that... It's not going to happen because the exterior view no longer has a toggle. It now has a flat pop-up. So, show, hide. Show, hide. We have more buttons, right? Oh, they're inside. I see. Show, hide. Show, hide. Save. Play. And now these should be immune to the flaw of getting stuck in the alternate version of where they should be. And instead, they nicely trigger and then untrigger as you request. Well, the parts list got stuck. How did the parts list get stuck? Okay, so here we've got two objects that got stuck open because the hide command didn't get properly shown. And here you can see that when I mouse over them, they do this dance. So I think I know what I need to do. In the animator, what I need to do is make it so that these don't have an exit time. Now the reason for that is because I think what was going on was it was waiting for the command to finish, and then it was arbitrarily choosing which trigger to eat. Was it going to fire off the show, or was it going to fire off the hide? And then it was just throwing away the other one. This should help that. And it should, there we are, we got one stuck by swimming across it a lot. And then it fixes itself. Now, what I really want is a method that doesn't fail. I'm not sure why the mouse off fails so frequently. It must be something I don't understand. Obviously it's something I don't understand. There's no good reason for it. But one of the things we can do is we can put in a canvas group here and tell it that this doesn't interact or block raycasts. Now the reason that we want to do that is because that way the mouse won't get caught on the hologram. And I think that might be what's going on here. Oh, well, got the help toggle anyway, so that didn't end up working. So the buttons do grow slightly, and maybe that's the issue. If that's the issue, then we could make the panel also not have any canvas group. Let's try that. Nope, that didn't help. I honestly don't know what's going on and why this isn't working. Well, let's not leave a bunch of added canvas groups in because that would slow things down a little bit, and there's no reason for it. We'll live with it for now. Later on we'll have to fix this, make it a little bit better. But not too concerned for the moment, I guess. That's fine as it is. I am concerned with the way that clicks fall through. So if I were to go ahead and try and get this set up with a ship, like, say, the Hansa here, the clicks tend to fall through, and that's a real serious problem for us. So for example, if we were to do this and then go over here and then click, in addition to bringing up the parts list, we have also grabbed the engines. And this is a very serious problem. There's a lot of ways around it, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if any of them actually work. Because we're using two separate pipelines. The GUI pipeline and the underlying world pipeline have different click event catchers. And I'm not at all sure how to make that not screw up. If we look into the ship construction here, this is the thing that handles the clicking when it falls, when you're in the world itself. So what we would like to do is, if the click has already been caught by the UI, we want it to not count. But how do we do that? It's not something I know how to do. So here's the unloaded cursor. And here is input.get mouse button down 0. We need to replace this with a command that actually checks and sees whether or not input has been properly eaten. There doesn't appear to be anything obvious here. One thing I could do is I could make it so that it will automatically, not automatically, I could painstakingly add in a blocker to every single UI element I ever create. But wow, that would take forever. It makes a lot more sense to do it some other way. Let me just quickly search Google and see whether Google has anything to say about this. Unity UI click fall through. Stop event propagation on overlaying UI. 2009, not great. Well, he says that you might be able to use event.current.use, but I'd have to manually call it every single time you ever click a button. And that's not how I have been doing it. And it should already be set up like that, right? The buttons should already be eating the clicks. Also, that's not going to help because get mouse button down doesn't actually check that. It's not event driven. Erdroy says UI raycast. Yeah, I think that might be the only way to do it, but I've never had to do that before, so I'm not actually sure how to do that. Let's take a look here. If you know how to do that, Erdroy, give me a quick little demo. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and look it up. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat option suddenly popping up in front of my face. Unity UI raycast. How can I make a raycast to the new UI? this method works. I also wrote an answer here. Why didn't you put it in the same... whatever. Physics.raycast doesn't work, but graphics raycaster does. Okay, so let's take a look. Graphics raycaster. Of course, we're not getting any graphics raycaster, but it's probably in graphics. Is there a namespace graphics? Event systems? Oh, probably UI. That would make sense. Graphics raycaster. There it is. Look at that. Dot raycast. No? Dot what? Do I have to create one? I guess I have to create one. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I have to grab it from the canvas. Okay, so that means I've got to go through every possible canvas in the game world and see whether I have to run it against every canvas. But there's currently no easy collection of canvases, and I could have any number of them. So I can't... There's an event system, right? I mean, the whole game has an event system, or the scene has an event system. Can I use that event system's... I don't want to have to do this separately on every possible graphic in the game. That would be really ridiculous. But I might be able to do it using this event system, right? Event system. Let's go ahead and see whether or not this event system will give us any clues. So, what's it called then? It's, oh, probably just in unity.event systems, right? Returns true if the game object is already in a set selected game object. That might be valuable. Is invoking? Is any event pending on this mono behavior? That might be good. Is pointer over game object? That sounds like it might be exactly what I need. So let's go ahead and say debug.log checking fall through, and then that. Let's try it out. Let's see what it says. Checking fall through false, okay. Clear all that out. Showing build menu, Hansi. Checking fall through true, false, true, true, false, true, true, false. Why does it say true here? Is it because of this thing that doesn't actually exist? It is, isn't it? All right, because this is invisible. It doesn't actually work. If we were to move this aside, now it's false. See that? So it doesn't take into account visible objects or clickable objects. It takes into account all UI objects. That's going to be an issue, but this is promising. Well, for now, let's go ahead and create a new class here, a new function, rather. We're going to go ahead and put it on the player control base, I think. Yeah. Public static clicked. Bool. Yeah, there we are. We make this that object. Where was it? There it is. So here we're going to say if input.get mouse button down 0. If not, then return false. So if nobody clicked, nobody clicked. If someone clicked, but were over a UI object, nobody clicked. Otherwise, somebody clicked. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and go back over here and switch this out for a different command. Clicked. Now that will probably help. Let's take a look. Hey Jojo Jet, welcome to the party. Alright, so if we pull up a ship, like the Hansi here, what we want to have happen is nothing. Click. Nothing happened. Hurrah! Click. Good. Now how about when we do something a little bit more pesky, like click. Okay, I actually don't know what happened there. Oh, of course, it has a function. Oh, wow, I screwed that up. I actually don't know what I just did. Oh, I clicked on the engineering button. So that was the thing I did. Let's try it with something that won't cause me to lose track of what I'm doing. Like this guy here. Click. Good, it worked. Click. Good, it worked. Okay. So it looks like it's working. The only problem is there are some invisible objects, like this guy. And you can't tell that that is supposed to be click-throughable. This whole lower band here should be click-throughable, but we can't click through it. That's interesting, because in theory, it shouldn't... Well, This makes it clearer what's going on here. See? What we can do is put in a canvas group and make it uninteractable. But the problem with that is that then we can't click on the individuals that we create. Let's go ahead and try this. Jojo Jet says, this thing is so impressive. How long have you been working on it? I mean, it's been a couple hours a week for the past 6 months, I guess. It's not as big as it seems. But I did get all of the gameplay worked out. Not all of it. I got some critical gameplay worked out. The mission system is really, really cool. The problem is it would take me several hours to explain it. But basically I figured out a really great way to make 4 really fun missions that create opportunities for character-driven play. And it's driven by a really cool base building system or ship building system, which can be either done manually or using canned elements, or it can be constructed using just a simple heuristic. So it should be a lot of fun. But for now, we have an issue, and that is people aren't fully integrated yet. So here, when we click on these guys, we actually click... Oh, cool. Switch back here. No, that's not it. Here. Click. Okay, so it's definitely clicking through. So that's not going to work as that. But can we re-roll? No. Interactable? No. So if we make the mask non-interactable, then we end up with a uninteractable children. I mean, the most obvious thing we could do is just show the mask graphic. But you can see how incredibly ugly that is. I mean, I could start it retracted, I suppose. But that's just too ugly to be born. It's just... I'm going to have to think about that, because that is a problem. Really, I don't want the mask itself to be catching clicks. Oh, maybe I can just do this. And boom, yay! Clear it. I have to make tab clear that, and boom, boom, yay! Woohoo! Perfect. Now, how about... Okay, great. Perfect. Look at this. This is great, everybody. This is exactly how I wanted it to be, aside from that weird flicker. Now we're going to want to have a slightly cleaner version of this. So let's clean it up a little bit. Up here in the player control, we're going to want to say public static bool mouse on UI. You might be wondering why we want to do that. Actually, this shouldn't even be a function. It should just be... Nope. What did I do? There we are. There we are. Sorry if I'm talking slow today. I have some construction down the street, and they decided to get a real early start. There we are. That'll do. Go back over to the ship construction control, and we'll go ahead and refactor some of this so that it doesn't trigger when we are properly clicked and stuff. One of the things we've got here is this raycast here that happens whenever whenever we move our mouse, and that currently doesn't ignore our when we mouse over UI elements, it raycasts through them. So we're going to want to say only do this if we are not on UI. If not, mouse on UI, and physics raycast at hit. There we are. And then here we have another mouse on UI with a clicked. That should all do. Now, if we have our cursor picking something up, then we are using the loaded cursor function here. And this, we're going to go ahead and assume that this is more or less correct, except here. There we are. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and let that drag through the UI, just because I don't really see too many other ways around that It would just like stay behind and then pop to places if we didn't. Now that should clean up nearly all of our problems with the fall through events where we were clicking on something and then it was picking up an object on the ship, and that was really obnoxious, and this should be a lot better. So let's go ahead and stick in some stuff. Let's build ourselves a little ship. Yeah. Of course. It's been a long time since I've done this. You have to do it every once in a while to remind yourself of how things work. To be honest, I think that this is a pretty good approach. I feel pretty good about it in terms of how easy it is to build stuff. Moving up and down is still a little bit of a pain in the patukas. I could add in some UI elements so that people wouldn't have to remember to press Shift W, Shift S. And there are some other details I could do. One of the things I'm not sure about, though, is the engineering layouts. These are critical for advanced players, but I don't know how critical they are for everyone else. But they definitely need to be refactored either way, because that's a really ugly view. Yeah, I guess that's fine. There we go. Yeah, we got our hydrogen. It will last for 2 days. 83 days at full power. So that's 83 days of full thrust. I think that will last plenty long. But we don't have any sort of fuel for our electricity. We don't have any batteries or reactors or anything. One of the things we've got here is this nasty-ass pop-up. I think I'm going to fix that right now while it's on my mind. So to fix that, what we're going to want to do is enable our ship components view for now. There it is. And we're going to want to select one of the elements inside of the ship component view. Parts list. Backdrop panel. Ship file menu, filter list, manifests panel. What's this? This guy right here, what is he? Oh, there he is. Ship component UI. So this ship component UI is what we would like to fix so that it doesn't screw up so much. And I believe that somewhere we are calling this desk, and we're telling the desk to just activate and deactivate. We're going to exchange that with a holographic pop-up visual. That'll be fun. Here it is. You can see that we just do set active when we pointer enter and pointer exit. We're going to go ahead and replace that with an animation call. So we'll go into the ship component UI and we'll add in an animator. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one because I don't think I have one that's viable. Ship component UI animator. And we'll just drop it in. Boom. Behold. And we're going to create an animation for it. Create, and we'll call this the desk ship component UI pop-up. All right. Now we're not going to want to start recorded, but we're going to want to turn it on. There we are. This is how it looks right now, and we're going to want to do a fun little fade across it. However, at the moment, we do not have a mask, so we're going to need to have another mask here. It's not too hard. We'll create ourselves a, we'll go in here into the desk and we'll create ourselves a panel. There we go. And this panel will be our mask for the desk. And that's linked to the upper right, so this is going to be linked to the upper right. Here we are. Well, to be honest, this would make a better mask. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make this the mask. There we go. Now the problem is we don't have a graphic. So let's go ahead and add in a graphic image and hide it. But this is not the image we want. We want our mask left image like this. Now we're going to want the mask to be quite a bit bigger than the rest, but down here we can see that these are all linked to the full size of the mask. And instead what we're going to want to do is link them to just the bottom right corner of the mask. That way when we make the mask bigger, it won't scale all of that shit up. But we can go ahead and set this up with more width. And like that. Perfect. Let's go ahead and add in an empty object in the middle here, which we will link to the lower right. And then we will just focus all of these guys in it, like so. That's fine. And we'll call this the mount. And that way we can drag that when the mask is being shipped around. Trying to figure out what's going on with these images. I'm using a 2 chop backs. I guess we don't need a mount. We can just use the images. So undo. Okay, so it's clear that what I did here is I just set this up without actually looking at it. So we're going to want to fix that. Like so. And then the text itself will go ahead and also map to the edges like so. And then what we'll do is we will set up the animation. So down here, we're going to go ahead and have a long delay on coming into the animation. So 1 second in, we're going to be fully established, but that's not going to be when we actually start. So let's go ahead and work through this with a moving it. We're just moving it, right? Like that. So we'll go ahead and say something like that. That'll work. And then this guy, we're going to go the opposite direction and keep them over here. And we're going to end up needing to go off the edge, aren't we? Yeah, like this. So let's see how that looks. I think that'll probably work fine. Let's go ahead and move our mask a little bit further aside here, so that we don't get that slide quite as bad. There we are, that'll do. Well, we do want to make it a little bit more pronounced, so let's make it a little bit more pronounced. Shoop. That'll do. But we're going to want to take these and put them in the right spots. Perfect. And this needs to go over here, like this. Except that's backwards. Oh crap. This is supposed to be showing it, so it's supposed to show it instantly, like swoop. But when, sorry, it's supposed to hide it instantly. But when we show it, what we want to do is actually have it have a long gap where it's not being shown, which means that I want this. Duplicate this. Just duplicate it, or do anything really. Come on. Yeah, that'll work. And what we want is for this to happen. A long delay there, because when we run it backwards, that's what we want. So that should work. I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and edit this so that it is not going to be a loop. Then we'll go into the animator. That's not the right animator. There you are. Here is the pop-up. Is it actually a pop-up? I thought it was a pop-down. It's a pop-down. All right, well, let's change the name. Let's go back over into our inspector or animator. So this is the pop-down. We'll make it the pop-up, sure. And then this will be the pop-down. And we're also going to want to have an instant pop-down. This is where we start. Nope. There. And as we did before, we're going to need two triggers, one for showing and one for hiding. You are the wrong thing. Go away. So if we pop down, we're going to want to pop up if we're told to show ourselves. And then we're going to want to pop down if we're told to hide ourselves. And then we're going to want to pop up if we're told to show ourselves. But we also need to make sure that we eat up the ones that we already are, like this. And none of these should have exit times. Oh, I forgot. You have to edit them one at a time. Pain in the butt. Why they don't support multi-editing, I have no idea. Anyway, now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our scene view here, and we're going to make it so that our mask, where is it? The image? Here it is. This doesn't do what we have it doing right now. Instead, what we do is we just tell it to animate. I guess the animator is on the ship component UI. Yeah, there it is. Set trigger, show. Set trigger, hide. And then here we also want to do a set trigger hide. So not reset trigger, set trigger. All of these are reset triggers, or half of them. Well, that's bad. There we are. So that should do. We'll just have to save this as a prefab. Why is it not? I know I broke the prefab defaults, but seriously, it should just let me hit apply, right? No? Do I have to actually manually kill it? Fine. There we are. So let's go ahead and see whether or not that is going to work. So these are still instant pop-ups. We may have to fix those. Okay, so all of these start as popped up, which is not at all what I want. And none of them seem to actually be doing anything useful. If we go into the animator, they're currently said to be in pop-down, but I don't think they are in pop-down. because they're not popped down. Do I have pop up and pop down reversed? Is that what's going on? Because this is supposed to start popped down. Yeah, that should work. I mean, that's definitely a pop down. It's not set to loop or anything. Fascinating. I don't think I've had this problem before. So if we take a look at our components list, we've got all these ship UI elements floating around here, and their animators should be so if we select one of them, like this one specifically, it should show the animator, but it's not. It's turned off. Why would the animator be turned off? Oh, because I turned it off. Oh, see, I am just the smartest guy, which is why I'm having none of these problems. Try this again. There we are, that's better. There's a little bit of a weird hiccup on the right there. I'm just going to fix that before I call it even, Steven. So basically, we want to move our image a little bit further left. There we are. I guess we have to do that here in the animation, don't we? So that's fine. Save this and oh, it's already saved. Okay. Let's test it out. No, I forgot to actually test it. So previously, these things popped up instantly, and they were really, really distracting. And they're still pretty distracting. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slow the pop-up down, and I'm going to make it so that there is no transition time. And that should make it so that it doesn't get noticed when we don't want it to. So negative 0.5 and no transition time. Nope, I didn't. It already has no transition time. Oh, it's because this is, it actually shows this instantly rather than just having it vanish. We could accelerate it. Let's go ahead and just accelerate the vanishing, and that'll do. The basic problem is it's going to end up playing the first half of this animation, and that's really not what I want. You can see how it will play the animation even if I just kind of touch it like this. What you're actually seeing here is it's playing in just a tiny fraction of the pop-up animation, but then it's realizing that it has to play the full pop-down animation. So we're going to need a separate pop-up and pop-down animation. We'll just go ahead and do that. The problem is, I guess I didn't want to do that. Let's delete that. Because what I really want to do is duplicate this. There we are. So that we can edit it properly. If we take a look here, we have... It doesn't show up. You kidding? Come on, give me the right animation. Interesting. Why does it... It no longer gives me the option to create a new animation or anything. No, there we are. I'm just an idiot. Perfect. Be awake when you do a live stream, everybody. It does help. All right, so for our pop-up, it looks like this, and that's obviously exactly the opposite of what we want. So we're going to just go ahead and drag these to the other side, like so. Delete this entirely, and move this over to, yeah, that's fine. Perfect. So that's going to be our pop-up, and what we're going to want to do is maybe massage it a little bit more. Perfect. Yep. And now for our pop down, we're not going to have any visual at all. We're just going to do this. Boom. It is popped down. So when we go over here into the animator, we're going to go ahead and delete all of these because we don't need any of them except for these two. The instant pop down doesn't even need to be instant because it is now instant. I'm going to go over into the project view here, into the animations, and the pop up and pop down. Both are not looped. That's good. Create a transition over to pop up and make that so that it is a trigger. You know what we could do instead? There's actually better ways to do that now that we're doing it with an instant like that. We can bring it in from any state. So this will be our show command, and then this will be our hide command. No, it doesn't have any exit time. That's good. And since we're allowing it to pop over to itself, it will also eat our various triggers if we need them to get eaten. So this should work. Let's try it out. It seems to sort of work. Yeah, it does work, but there were some weird long delays there, weren't there? Interesting. See that? Where's this? Huh. There's some edge case where it's not getting triggered properly, but this is how I want it to be normally. Just the blending back into the hidden version will automatically make it vanish in a realistic way. See that? That's quite nice. I like it. Yeah, much better. Erdroy says, it's nice to listen to you when working. I'm releasing my new CBT update for my game on Steam, and I'm getting crazy with OS X support. I'm going to have a problem with my game, because in theory, Unity can release to any platform, or any reasonable platform, but in practice, the only one I own is a PC. So we're going to see what I'm going to support and how much it's actually going to be supported. It's my way of saying that you're a very brave person. Hey, let's look at this help screen. It's a little bit screwy, isn't it? This is the help screen, and why does it look that stupid? It's just butting up against the bottom, and I think that's the only issue. Let's go ahead and raise the panel off the bottom just a little bit so that it doesn't look quite that... more like this. Boom. That's a little bit better. Let's make it a little bit further off to the side here so that it doesn't conflict with the button that I've added. There we are. Now the only problem is that it looks like it might be a button to close the help screen, which it isn't, as you can tell. I could add in a background button, which does close the help screen. That might be the best thing to do. Add in a panel, put it here. we're going to go ahead and make it almost transparent and red. That's supposed to be a button. Good enough. No transitions. And we will go ahead and make that so that it can't be navigated to. But what it'll do is it'll do the exact same thing as that X in the corner there, which is this guy. Keywatcher.press. Is that correct? Is that the X button? It's got to be, right? Keywatcher.press? Really? Well, let's give it a shot. Where is the keywatcher? There it is. Okay. Should work. Let's try it out. We'll just call this the background failsafe. Yep, good. The idea here is that if you do decide to click on this, it'll just go away and you won't have to worry about it. Now the problem is that escape doesn't make the helpful help screen go away, and neither does tab or right-clicking. You can hit F1 to make it go away, but you can't hit F1 to bring it back. It's really clumsy. So if we take a look at the help screen here, the helpful background failsafe doesn't go away, which is obviously not great. So what we need to do is make it so that when the help screen gets clicked here, there it is, on toggled, game object set back to, we're going to set that to background failsafe as well. Oh, is that a... There it is. But what happens is it's supposed to trigger this when we hit F1. Here's the list of keys, right? So why isn't it triggering when we hit F1? And that's the question. So it goes away when we hit F1, but then it doesn't come back. It should still be processing. It's just not catching the key. If we were to go into our key watcher here and take a look. So here it is, control update, input ticket. So this happens only when it is in full control. So we're going to need to have a background version of this. So public bool keep watch while in background equals false. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this put into update here. If keep watch while in background, do this. Except we're probably going to want to be a little bit better than this. This key watcher is very, very primitive. It can't be remapped very easily. It can't watch for multiple keys. It's something I kind of threw together. I'll have to think about this a little bit. Erdway is confused as to why Twitch is hearing his commands for Linux. Now listen to my voice going away. Okay, so let's see whether or not this will work. Yay, it works. So that is how it's supposed to work, but again, only F1 actually gets the trigger. It would be nice if a lot of things could trigger it, because I want this helpful help screen to go away when you hit escape and some other stuff like that. Maybe that should be part of the basic fundamental player control system. So if you're in control and someone hits escape, maybe you should stop being in control if that's something that you have. So here it is. Unfortunately, this doesn't really have any fundamental understanding of how to disable or enable itself. It understands when it's disabled or enabled, but it doesn't know how to cause that, because every single control has a radically different set of circumstances. So I guess I can't do it like that. I could make the key watcher watch for a variety of other key presses instead of just one, but the way I would want to do that is I'd want to link it to the keys here in the project here. We wouldn't want to map it permanently to escape or whatever. We've got a bunch of different keys here, including cancel, which is escape, and mode switch and that sort of stuff. There's no reason I can't check these, so let's go over into the key watcher. And we're going to go ahead and, well, we're just going to have a ditch out option. Public bool triggered by ditching out equals false. Tooltip, if active, will trigger, or if in control, will trigger when player hits escape or any mode change button. And then what we'll do here is if input dot get button down, and then we can type in the names here like cancel. So first off, if triggered by ditching out, and input.get button down cancel, or input.get button down mode switch. That'll do. Press. So help. Keep watch while in background. Something wrong here? Do I have too many? That looks like something's wrong. Yeah, there we are. That's what I need. Perfect. And we'll want to trigger while ditching out. So now when I hit tab, it goes away and this pops up. Similarly, if I hit escape, it goes away. So that'll work. That'll work. The Moon is a Cheese just stopped in and said, "Hi, long time no see." Hello. I'm probably coming towards the end of my run here. My voice is starting to give out. But I'm glad you stopped by for however long you planned to stay. I've been working mostly on UI stuff today, and I've cleaned up our UI considerably. Radically better UI. No obnoxious fall-throughs. A lot of better mapping here and there for all the things that need to be mapped. And some better pop-up stuff to make it so that it's less annoying to pick stuff. All told, I'm happy with the progress that we've made. And I'm hungry. Where is the other... Oh, you know what I could do? I'll learn to use my own damn filters. So let's take a look at our hull elements. Look at that. Got our split mount right there. There's our six-way mount. That's what I was looking for. Because our six-way mount is the one that's actually going to be able to hold this object. Oh. There we are. Boom. You know, I do like how this looks. I think it looks nice. Let's go ahead and add in some fuel cells on the outside here. Kaboom. Is it control? Yeah, control. Boom. And what can we do? We can add in some hydrogen tanks on the top. Give it some of that good old-fashioned feeling. A shift. There it is. Oh, I went too far. There we are. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize it would... too high. There we are. Boom, boom, boom. The Moon as G says, I've just seen your UI demo. That's ages ago. This is hopefully much better than that. Although I guess there's no guarantee of it. But it's not yet ready for a new release because the characters haven't been properly integrated yet. Once I have the character system running, I'll be releasing a new version of it. And that will be nice. There we are. Oh, he means he was just watching me do it on screen. That's fine. That one's not out of date. I do have rocket fuel, so I should have rocket boosters. Although why I would need this many rocket boosters, or this many electrical thrusters when I also have rocket boosters, this is a bit of a silly ship, but that's fine. Am I too high? I am too high. Well, let's go ahead and add in the rest of this particular ship. I've never been pleased with the look of this airlock. I'll probably have to figure out a different airlock in the long run. But, you know. Let's go ahead and put in a straight hab unit. And then another X junction. Oh no, I screwed that up. And then let's zoom on over here and add in some rooms and stuff. I forgot that the rooms could be placed like this. That's fine. Let's see how they look when I put them out in wing form. Look at all that room. And then we've got a bathroom. And where is our cockpit? There it is. It took me a while to even figure out what you guys were talking about because it's so censored so suddenly I didn't even realize it was there. I just overlooked it. I am really tired. I probably need to sleep more. If only there wasn't quite so much construction going on. And we can keep doing this forever. I'm just kind of getting the feel for it again since we're back into the ship part of the game. Now, I have got a lot of work to do in creating a proper system for actually getting our crew working. And that means I've got a lot of really obnoxious stuff involving saving and loading crew members. And that's nowhere near ready. In fact, the basis is still broken. I need to fix that too. Is this a 45-degree turn? Looks like that's 45 degrees and the rest of the ship is 30. Brilliant! Shall we put in some early era Corvette stuff? How about this maneuvering thruster? We do have a maneuvering thruster for the actual ship in question, but I guess we're fine like this. All right. I'm tired and hungry and mumbling too much, so I'm thinking about stopping. If you have any questions at the last minute here, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll be gone in about 30 seconds. Well, 25 or 15 seconds from whenever you're doing stuff, because these streams take a little while. See ya, Erdroy. Thanks for stopping in. I'll be back on Wednesday, I think. Wednesdays are actually more reliable than Saturdays. We had a festival of indie games today, and I'm only here because I decided not to go. And I'll see you guys around, and hopefully I will have a fully integrated crew system by the end of February, which would mean we'd have a new release, which would be construction complete. Still wouldn't have the mission stuff in it yet, but the mission stuff is cool. We'll be able to do that relatively straightforward, I think. Have a good one.